Hey guys, I'm Elizabeth McCravey, a website designer and business coach for entrepreneurs and your host for the Breakthrough Brand podcast, the show that's all about pulling back the curtain on how to actually build a successful business. I don't skim the surface around here. If you want a deep dive into the nitty-gritty details of what it takes to run a successful business and stand out in a crowd, you're in the right place. After creating a multiple six-figure-a-year website design business in my 20s, I'm ready to share everything I've learned and everything I'm still learning because I believe the keys to building a thriving business should never be a secret. Here you'll find episodes that are actionable, direct, and fun, like friends chatting business over coffee, and a fresh, honest take on the reality of being an entrepreneur. If you're ready to master online marketing, branding, website design, mindset, and business strategy, then this is the podcast for you. It's time to build your breakthrough brand. Let's do this. All right, I'm very excited for today's interview, friends. We are chatting all about VIP days and how you can add this offer to your online business. So this is a topic I've gotten requests for many times on the podcast, and I have the VIP day girl herself here, Jordan Gill, to give us the scoop of like, how do we do this? How do we make this work? So if you're curious, like, okay, what even is a VIP day? It's basically a 4-figure offer with 3 to 5 phases that is done in a day or less. And I've actually seen the coaching industry offer these for years, but did you know that you can actually offer this as a website designer, a copywriter, virtual assistant, photographer, and about a gazillion other types of businesses? So in this episode, Jordan and I dive really deep and get super practical so you can literally start creating your very own VIP day from what you learn in this interview. Like, you'll be able to get started right away. And if you haven't met Jordan before, she is an operations consultant and she's the founder of Systems Saved Me. And I love Jordan. I love her business. I love her mission, all of it. And I know you're going to love her too. And fun thing, I was actually on Jordan's podcast a little while back. It's episode 270 of her show. It's called Systems Saved Me, the podcast. And on that episode, we talked about how to create a money-making website homepage. So I'm going to link to that episode in the show notes. It's a really great one. Some really quick actual website tips from me. So definitely go check that out after you listen to this interview. So I want to quickly highlight some things you're going to learn on this episode so you know what to look out for. First, we'll talk about what a VIP day is and what it isn't and what types of businesses and types of services it's going to work for and what it won't work for. Jordan tells us about the 3 different types of VIP days so you can figure out which one makes sense for your business. We talk about how you get clients to actually send you everything in order to execute the VIP day and other types of things like, what if you don't get it all done? How much do I charge? How do I collect payments? What types of offers is this actually not suited for? And how to use contracts to protect yourself and your client, because these projects are different than other types you might be used to doing in your business. And then we talk about what the first step you need to do to create your very own VIP day is. And fun thing, if you're tuning into this episode live, then the Done in a Day virtual conference is about to kick off. This is Jordan's awesome online event. It's a live virtual conference. It has several speakers, and they're going to be sharing how they create and sell virtual VIP days. It's also super affordable. It's just $29 for the ticket. And I'm an affiliate of Jordan's. And if you want to check out the event, register, read up on it. I'll put some info in the show notes, but you can also just go to elizabethmccravey.com/Jordan to get all that info on the event. And if you're listening to this in the future, still go to that link because you can learn just how to work directly with Jordan. So that's elizabethmccravey.com/Jordan. So without further ado, again, I'm so excited for you guys to hear this. I'm going to play that interview with Jordan now. All right, guys. So I'm chatting virtually with Jordan Gill of Systems Saved Me, who is, like, as her business name implies, such a systems genius and also really so savvy with VIP days. Like, I feel like you really are the expert on this. So I'm really excited to chat about this because I know this is an offer like so many people listening are interested in adding to their business. So anyway, welcome, Jordan.
Yes, thank you. I'm so excited to talk about, obviously, one of my favorite subjects, VIP days. And I know that everyone will get a ton of value. So I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
Yes, yes. So fun. Okay, and I got to be on your podcast not that long ago talking about
That's
what did we
great.
do? We did the website
Website
homepage tips.
homepages.
Yeah, so we'll have
Yep.
to link to that. You have an awesome podcast, and you've been a podcaster
Thank
for
you.
a long time.
Yeah, 5 years.
Yeah, I was like, how many years is it? And you've
Yeah.
changed the podcast name though, but
Yeah, the
not
podcast name hasn't changed. My business
your
name has
business name.
changed, oddly
Okay.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I love it. Okay, so yeah, to back it up though, tell everyone who you are, what you do, and who you serve in your business.
Yes. So, like she said, I'm Jordan and I am the founder of System Save Me. We've been in business and had a podcast for 5 years. And we are all about helping online service providers replace their monthly retainers with virtual VIP days. That is our jam. And that's really because I started doing VIP days myself about 4.5 years ago. And I've been monthly retainer free for 4 years officially. And, I think that in the service industry, it's really easy to get burnt out on just this constant idea of being booked out. But then, being booked out tends to then roll over into scope creep and boundary issues and all that sort of stuff. And so while I know monthly retainers work for some people, and that's great. Awesome. Keep doing it. We need somebody to keep doing it. I also want to share, the awesome alternative, which is VIP days. And so we'll get all into that. But I live in Dallas, Texas, and I have an awesome hubby, bonus son who's 7, and my dog Vivian, who is a Cavapoo for all of you puppy moms out there.
Love that. Love that. Yeah. And I didn't realize you've been doing VIP days that long. Like that you started doing them that many years ago. What was the VIP day you were offering back then?
Yes. So the VIP day I was offering was obviously around systems, but I love customer relationship management systems. So if you think, and short for, or technically long for, I guess, the CRM. Yeah. And that is where you're really tracking your clients from the moment they become a lead and potentially are going to be a client through the sales call, onboarding, management, and offboarding of that client. So I would help actually seasonal professionals. So I know you have like wedding planners that follow you. So I end up working with wedding planners, tax professionals, hail damage folks, like they have kind of on and off seasons. And so I work with them during their off season so that their next peak season, they can be good to go. So that's what I did for, almost 4 years. And recently in the last year, I've pivoted to more of like an overall business audit and being able to see the gaps and inefficiencies and stuff like that. So again, you can kind of play around with VIP days and switch them up when you want to. But yeah, that's the one I did starting out.
Interrupting this episode with a suggestion for the small business owners listening. Ever wonder what you should do for healthcare when you and your spouse are both self-employed so there's no work-provided health insurance to participate in? Well, when my husband Adam joined me in the entrepreneurial job space over 4 years ago, we joined Christian Healthcare Ministries instead of getting traditional health insurance. And it was the best decision for us, especially in these years of growing and raising a family while also running multiple businesses. CHM is a health cost-sharing ministry and is a faith-based alternative to health insurance. We did tons of research before choosing CHM, and if you know me and Adam, you know we are all about doing the math when making big or small financial decisions. And even though it's not insurance, CHM shares 100% of eligible medical bills, which is more than the typical 70 or 80% of medical bills paid for by insurance companies. All sharing is determined by the CHM guidelines, which you can check out before and after joining. And for the mamas and mamas to be listening, you truly cannot find a better healthcare option for maternity care. I had a vaginal delivery and a C-section and birth center care and hospital care between my 2 pregnancies and births, and it was all 100% shared for. And outside of birth, we've had our share of emergency room visits and procedures as a family, and those costs were all shared by members at Christian Healthcare Ministries, leaving us only paying our monthly contribution. CHM is less expensive month to month than insurance, and because there's no network, you can choose your care with whichever providers best fit your family. I seriously just cannot recommend Christian Healthcare Ministries enough. You've got to check them out. Go to elizabethmccravey.com/CHM for more information. Also putting that link in the show notes, elizabethmccravey.com/CHM. Now back to the episode. That's really cool. Yeah. I knew you were doing something with the CRM stuff. So I didn't realize it was VIP day though. That's really cool. And how did you end up deciding to pivot to teaching VIP days too? Because would you say that's the primary thing you do over doing them yourself at this point?
Oh yeah. I've had to massively decrease the amount of VIP days that I was doing to have room and space for the teaching that I'm doing. And so, I would say I do 2 or 3 a quarter. And it really depends on if we have a launch or not. And so I'll kind of on our less busy times, then I'll do more VIP days. But I pivoted March 2020. So literally March 17th was when I launched my Done a Day coaching program. And if you remember, March 17th, it was when everybody was in lockdown. And so I was like, cool, this is a great idea, but I guess they're just going to go with it. And so I decided to, a lot of people decided to not be launching. And I was like, no, I'm just going to dig deeper. And I know that this is what people could really benefit from. And I was somewhat hesitant because I was like, I don't know if VIP days are even going to last through this pandemic, right? It was a lot of questions going on, but actually it's been phenomenal during this pandemic, better than I even thought, because people are able to find, their partners or family to watch their kids for 3 or 4 days a month, for 3 or 4 VIP days versus, your ongoing work and you're kind of having to work with the kiddos and the virtual schooling and all of that stuff. So VIP days have been actually quite a blessing for a lot of people during the pandemic, which is such a relief and so amazing and awesome. And so, I pivoted a little over a year ago. We've had 160 students go through, which I'm really proud of. And I'm all in on VIP days. In every aspect.
I can see how it would be a nice pivot even for someone who wasn't even necessarily doing that type of service to add in during when you're especially thinking about wedding professionals, even of those kind of industries that got hit really hard. Yep. Yeah. Okay. This is kind of a random question, but launching in March of 2020, did you get any backlash for that? Or was that hard? And I launched in April, so right after that, but it was already a little different then, but I'm just curious, how did that end up feeling like it went?
It didn't. I'm really, really, what's the word? I'm really intentional about the community that I keep. And while you can't always, totally, weed out or filter out the negative energy, stuff like that. But as somebody who, I struggle with adrenal fatigue and I have really low energy capacity, I have to be careful with who is in my energy because I'm really sensitive to it. And so, we didn't get a lot of backlash, and I'm thinking about it. And I think it's just because if you're negative, I just have no room for you, to be quite honest. Because I think during the pandemic, I maybe adjusted the initial pricing that I was planning to go start with because of the pandemic, but I don't think anything else was really affected per se, and I did tell the first initial 17 people that came in, we're going to be navigating this together. I can't sit here and tell you sure, the pandemic is it's going to be totally fine with VIP days because I have no idea. I've never lived through one. And so I'm really grateful that those first 17 took a chance on me and on VIP days. And a lot of them were really, really grateful that they had that option during this time period where they did lose some of their monthly retainer clients, but they were able to salvage and pivot to, again, VIP type business model.
Yeah, that's good. And that makes sense to me. And I also didn't get backlash during launching them. I feel everyone was so afraid of it though. So that's why I was curious of I feel like we all thought people would be mad, but in reality, if it's something people needed, then it's hey, actually, thanks for giving me something to do to help my business during this time. Yeah. So it's that's cool. Okay. Awesome. I love that. So, okay. We've kind of already started to talk about what VIP days are. Totally. But for people, I know you have you actually have a really good, fast, kind of one liner definition. So if you would tell people what is a VIP day?
Totally. Yeah. So a VIPA, for my definition, is a 4-figure offering That is no 997s going on up in here. So we start at 4 figures, and I'm sure I'll share throughout, the reasons why. It's a 4-figure offering that lasts 3 to 8 hours within a 24-hour period that helps a client through a 3 to 5 phase transformation or process. And the reason I have numbers in there is because it's actually measurable. Like you'll be able to like check it's 4 figures, check it's between 3 and 8 hours, and check it is a 3 to 5 phase process that I'm taking my clients through. And so it's really, what it also is not is a strategy session, like 1 hour is what I mean, like a 1 hour power hour, ask me anything, pick my brain session. That is not what a VIP day is. A VIP day really is taking your monthly retainer or your, 6-week website projects and creating an actual 1-day version of that. And so I want to be clear about that, because a lot of people are like, oh, well, I do VIP days, but it's like an hour, ask me anything. And that's not a A to Z transformation. It's not really creating an actual process or, yellow brick road for your clients to go on. That's more of just like a popcorn like situation. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's like totally a offering. However, it's just not a VIP day.
Yeah, it's good to differentiate those. Yeah, because that's the whole like pick my brain call. I used to offer that because I was getting so many requests for that. And it's like, we can do something for an hour. But yeah, totally. I like that you said 3 to 8 hours within 24-hour period. Yeah. At least $1,000. Love all that. Yeah. And who would you say could do a VIP day? And also, in addition to that, like what's the most interesting industry or VIP day you've seen?
Oh, yes. I love that question. So I would say, generally speaking, I think the most qualified people for VIP days are service providers. I'm obsessed with like service providers really taking their like zone of genius, their expertise, what they're amazing at, and creating a day version of it, a done in a day version. But that doesn't mean other people can't. Coaches, consultants, I also encourage to have a VIP day option for them as well. Who it is not really for is like product-based business owners. Yeah. I haven't cracked the code on that one yet, but maybe one day I will. So I would say it's more service coaching oriented. And the most interesting one for sure was this one came to me in my DMs and was like, hey, my service is I actually produce a song that helps people through their trauma. And I was like, okay. And like, that's amazing and beautiful. And like, I'm really going to have to like think about this for a second. Yeah. And she was like, do you think this could be a VIP day? Like, I want to be able to do it in a day. So I sat there and I'm really blessed to have a pretty great network. And so I contacted my friend, Laura, who is really in the woo-woo space, because your girl's about as woo as burning a candle during a bath. So like, I was like, okay, I want to like see if this would make sense for you to be a referral partner for. Like, that's the kind of lens I want you to use. And so I told her what this woman did, and she was like, oh my gosh, yes, send her name to me. Like, this is amazing. And so we got the validation that we needed. She's been able to get clients from her friends, and it's been so interesting, right? Because there are some things that not that I know how to build websites, because I definitely don't, but I've not only like had clients who have done websites in a day. I've literally bought like every done in a day website possible, because your girl's not doing it. But some things I have to kind of mull over and sit and ponder and ask questions about, just because I'm like, well, I've never seen it before. And so then I always like to preface that, which, by the way, not having seen your VIP day does not mean that it's not a good VIP day. Because back in the day when I was doing VIP days, there were no other systems VIP days for me to like see and like know if this was going to be a good idea or not. And so I think that a lot of people are told, like, if you haven't seen it done, that means that it's not viable or that's not going to work. And with VIP days, you kind of have to play and experiment with it to really know if it's a viable idea or not, just because it's semi-new in like the online marketing space.
Yeah. And I love what you just said, like, be the first person in your industry to offer it. Like, that's That'd be really cool. And that music one is an interesting example for sure. Yeah, I'm sure like you said, I know like designers are a group, like I was telling you, that are very interested in this. And yeah, virtual assistants, I guess, would be another good one, and other types of like service providers. So yeah, I love that. And okay, I know that you have like 3 distinct types of VIP days that you think like they fall into these categories. What are those?
Yes. So again, there's VIP days can feel very niche, and then you can even like get more granular inside of VIP days, which I love. And so they can look a few different ways. Like I said, there's 3 types. The first type is what we call backstage. And that is where you are not on the call at all with your clients. So someone's reserving quite literally your time. Like they are not like face-to-face with you on a Zoom call like the others. Okay. And it's normally like website VIP day. I've seen sales page VIP days, or even systems VIP days where I just want to be in my zone. I don't want to like do small talk and all that stuff. Then that's the type of VIP day for you, for sure. It's definitely a done for you type VIP day. Then we have the second one, which is blended. And that is where you are on the call the entire time with your clients. So if it's an 8-hour VIP day, you're on a call for 8 hours. If it's a 3-hour, you're on the call for 3 hours. And that's really, again, it can be done for you, which is what I do. I do strategy and service type of VIP day. And so I'm on the call the entire time. I'm okay with having conversations and being able to build at the same time. And my clients really like that they can see what's happening, because they may have worked with somebody who did it behind the scenes, and they get their beautifully done system, but they have no idea how to work it. And so I help them to familiarize. They're not actually like, they're paying attention, but there's no way they'd be able to like replicate it right after. Yeah. But they at least are familiarizing themselves with where stuff is, what stuff is called, etc. So that it's not such a difficult integration then into their team, to be quite frank. So blended is, again, done for you or done with you. And so that's where, again, maybe you and your client are both working on things at the same time, and you're kind of creating together. I've seen, quite a few different blendeds. Coaches generally are a blended VIP day, because you're going back and forth to create a beautiful solution for your clients. But also, again, I do systems VIP days as blended as well. And then we have the last one, which is bookends. And so if you are, if you're thinking of bookends, like on a shelf, it's very similar. So you can do it where you have a call at the beginning or a call at the end, or both. And so what that means is, for example, I know somebody who does like Pinterest setups as a bookend. And so she will get on the call, talk about your Pinterest strategy at the beginning. And then the rest of the day is her actually building it out in your Pinterest account. And then at the end, she sends you like a full debrief with tutorials. I've seen bookends for, again, systems. I've seen them for also even copywriting as well, where it's like, okay, we're building, we're talking about it in the beginning of the day, and then I'm going to go write it later in the day. So you can kind of play with, again, what is going to work best for you and your clients. And again, there are some clients who want backstage systems, like they don't want to see you building it, and that's beneficial for them. There are people who do want to watch you do systems, oddly enough, and like want to like kind of learn alongside of you. And so there is no right or wrong. There is no bad or good. It is truly based on your preferences, as well as the clients that you enjoy working with the most.
Yeah, I love those differentiations, because it is like, for thinking about, so like the backstage one, like that makes so much more sense for like websites than having them on the call with you the whole time. It's like, I don't really want your opinion on like every step of this. But then for systems, I can see how they would be like, okay, I actually want to see Dubsado and like know what's happening here. Which you could argue that a little bit for websites too, of like for them to be able to maintain the site. But yeah, I like those different ones there. Okay. And then I have so many different questions. I mean, one I wanted to ask you that relates directly to my business actually, and thinking about designers. So I know like when I think about like website design in particular, and like different VIP days that would be good, like sales pages, doing a branding, even template customization. I think all of those make a lot of sense for a VIP day. But then what about websites where it is like it's a massive site, like 30 plus pages, tons of copywriting you're working with, a really established like online business person who's like coming from another platform to a new one. And where it is like a 5-figure project, is that something that you would say like does not fit into a VIP day, or like just curious what your thoughts are on that?
Yeah, totally. I would think that, if you're getting into extreme customization, then I would say that's probably not going to be the best fit for a VIP day. Now, I did VIP days for my rebrand and for my website, and that we had talked about, and that was technically 2 VIP days back to back, because my website was 12 pages. And she actually she uses Showit. So yay. Yeah. And so it was customized. However, she actually used sections from other clients of hers websites that were custom, and she like pieced them together how website designers do. That's not the technical language. But so there's a way that you can create that custom feel that is actually pretty templated, in the sense of you're just pulling from other websites and making it work for me. But if it's like, I was surprised she was able to get 12 pages out in 2 days. That was like really impressive. If it's like, 30 plus, even 20 plus, like, I think that that's going to be where you're kind of like, okay, like, unless we are like really templating or using templates, then that would just be probably a bit of overkill. And you can, website designers I've seen do 2 weeks, I've seen them do a month, and still be project-based, but I don't know if that level of customization and high touch would be able to be done in a day.
Yeah. And I would agree with you, because that's what some of my course students were asking. I was like, I think those kind of sites, and you are like, I always have felt really good about the money I'm earning from those custom sites and the timeline, even though it's not like, it might be a few months versus like a few days. But I think like sales pages, I've kind of almost, I wouldn't call it a VIP day, but more like a quick week to do those. And it is like a couple $1,000s for it, getting that set up. And so I think that's one that feels good. But I was curious about your thoughts on like differing those, because it is like all websites are so different there.
They really are.
Yeah. Okay. And so then like another question with it, and I guess, you're kind of already saying this, but like, I know VIP days can sound intimidating for a lot of people, because it is like, okay, what if something comes up that day? What if my kid gets sick? What if like, I don't feel well? Like, do I have to really get it all done in a day? What if it just takes longer for whatever reason? Like, how do you like deal with all of that aspects of it?
Yeah. So with the scheduling and all that sort of stuff, I actually worked with a website designer that, her nanny was sick. So then therefore her kid were home, and she was like, listen, like, we're going to probably run into tomorrow. Like, is that okay? And I was like, absolutely, that's fine. And again, hers was backstage, so it's not like it really affected my schedule per se. Yeah. And so you can be really open and honest if things like that do happen. If it's something else, there was one time where I had to reschedule. I don't remember why, to be quite honest. But I actually have a fee for rescheduling in my contract, that if we have to reschedule, it's an additional $250. So when I had to reschedule, just out of client experience and taking care of the client, I actually deducted $250 from their VIP day price. And that was that felt the best to me, as far as just reciprocation and client experience, and he appreciated it and whatnot. But having something in place to where it's very clear in your contract, I'm not a lawyer, I can't give legal advice. However, for me, it was really important to have something in my contract that stated, like, if I have to cancel, or if you have to cancel or reschedule, or whatever the case is, what that looks like. Just because it's much better to have that stuff discussed up front rather than like in the moment. But I think that, for the most part, I found VIP day folks to be pretty flexible. So as long as you are communicative, then really, they're just like any other client, where you can state like, if something's, and especially pandemic times, even still today, like, there's people still, getting sick and having difficulties and things like that. So I feel like even too, the pandemic has been difficult in many, many ways. There has been blessings where people have had to give more grace. And so I think clients are being a lot more understanding now, just with, again, how the world is.
Yeah. Well, I like that example too of like, with your contract, that's like the contract being both sided, which is important. And yeah, I can imagine that if I was your client, it'd be like, yeah, like, of course, like that's fine. And also like, thank you for the 250 back. Like you didn't have to do that. So you're right that it's like, people are flexible with it. And when we think about like doing like, so for someone who's like, okay, I'm going to do my first VIP day ever. And I'm like, I don't know how much time I actually need. Like, what would you recommend? Like any kind of discount for the first client, or more of like letting them know you're the first client, or just like hoping it all works out? Like, what would you do there?
Yeah, totally. So I think that for most people, I suggest, I like to challenge folks a little bit because I was challenged when I first did VIP days. And that was my sales coach at the time, was like, how much do you want to make with your VIP days? And I was like, I mean, it'd be cool. Like my monthly retainer is like 3,000. Like it'd be cool if I made like 3,000 for like, a day. And she's like, great, that's what your price is. And I was like, okay. I was expecting some pushback and then I didn't get it. Yeah. And so, I just decided to put it out there at that price and said, okay, if no one says anything, then okay, I changed the price to something lower, right? So my initial challenge is whatever your monthly retainer rate or project rate is, price it at that and see if anybody bites. Because a lot of people are actually surprised that people will bite for that same price. Because again, when you think of VIP days, they're really getting a quicker version of the transformation. And so they should be paying more for that because in any other industry, there's always incentive for if you want something to be done faster, you're going to pay more for it. Just like, what are the most expensive cars? The fastest ones, right? If you are waiting in line at Disney World, there's two different lines. There's a regular line where you got to like wait hours for a 5-minute Peter Pan ride, or you can pay more for an additional ticket on top of that called the Fast Pass. And you don't have to wait in the hours line. You wait in the 20-minute line, you get through the 5-minute Peter Pan ride, and then you're off to Dumbo or wherever else, right? So this is not a new concept. So you're not having to like explain like why it's more expensive for less time, right? We get into the entrepreneurial world and we're so used to this time and money connection that does not need to exist when it comes to VIP days. Like it's not, a VIP day hour is completely different than a monthly retainer hour in my eyes. You are getting so much, it's like a fully injected hour like it is. And again, you get kind of tired after your VIP days. I get energized, but also tired at the same time. I'm energized because I'm excited, like it's done and it's amazing. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, like my brain hurts. And so, it really comes down to what you're going to feel most confident saying when you are speaking about it. So if you're going to stumble over your words and whatnot, I went around my house, sounding kind of a little cuckoo, saying, $3,000 for 4 hours, $3,000 for 4 hours, $3,000 for 4 hours. And again, I didn't stumble a single time when I said it now because I've said it so many times and I'm confident about it. And now my VIP days are more, right? But when I started out, I had to say it because I did not want to stumble on it when I was in the call or like whisper or feel scared or anything like that. Like I wanted to project that was the price and that's what it should be. So I encourage you to try out your monthly retainer or project rate at your VIP day rate. But if nobody bites, it's not that big of a deal. And like you can always lower your price and start back up and get back up there.
Yes, I'm 100% agree with you. I love all that advice. And one thing, like you kind of said it, but I wrote down as you were talking, like it's about the end result, not the time spent. And we do want to think about like, if it's less hours, if it takes less hours for me to make this sales page, then it's worth less money, to use that as an example. But in reality, it could actually arguably be worth more money because they're getting it quicker. And one thing I love to think about with things like online courses, I've used this example before talking about it, but like no one wants to buy your course. They want to buy the end result. And if they could actually not take your course, but have the result, they would. And so I feel like it's a similar thing there with VIP days. Like if we could skip the process, we would. And that's kind of like what's letting you do, which is worth more.
Yes, we would love to skip the process.
But people like get confused on that with selling so often. Even like I just did a video about this for my course for designers, but it's like often on our like sales pages, for example, we focus so much on selling the process. And it's like, that's actually not what you're selling. You're selling the end result. And when you focus too much on the process, you lose people because they're like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of stuff that they don't even really necessarily need to know about. So yes, and I love the Disneyland or Disney World analogy too there.
Both.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay, here's one. How do you prepare for it? Like on the front, like I know it's going to vary industry to industry and like what it is, but like how do you prepare the client for it and how do you prevent them from getting to the day of? I'm sure you have like cancel, like things like fees and stuff involved there maybe, but like if they get to them like, oh, hey, I actually forgot about this. Good luck. I'll get that to you. Like have you had that happen? Of a client literally being like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get any of that done.
Yeah, I've never had that happen. And
which the investment probably helps with that, right?
Yeah. You definitely kind of weed out the people who aren't going to be able to take it as seriously. And I found that if people have gotten to the point where they're at the VIP day and the client has not done their pre-work, then either they haven't taken my advice or, there was some sort of miscommunication. So again, it's so important. And I think with monthly retainers and projects, it's funny because a lot of times we're at the mercy of the client. A lot of times we're like, okay, like get me this thing, like get me the photos for this website page, like get me the, logins for your system setup, get me this, get me that. And clients delay, they get sick, they do all sorts of stuff, right? And for VIP days, like that is imperative. Like if we do not have what we need to be set up for success, then the day does not need to be happening at all. Like doesn't make any sense. Like you wouldn't, take in a car to your garage and not have a wheel and be like, that's okay, bring your car in anyway. And like, we'll still like figure it out together. Like, no. Okay. So with that, like what I love about VIP days is that the onus is really on the clients. Like the clients need to have their stuff together in order for me to have my stuff together. So the pre-work is something that is really crucial. And if a VIP day runs long or short or whatever it is, it usually is because the pre-work was not fully developed or you didn't ask enough questions up front most of the time. So I require my questionnaire to be literally in my hands digitally 72 hours before the day. And if I do not have it, then that's an automatic reschedule. Like your girl's not going to get on the call. I don't want to be flustered. I don't want to be thrown off. I don't want to be any of those things. And the more you stick to that, you guys, the better it is. I promise you. I admit that I made the mistake once of she had done the majority of the pre-work, but there were some pieces missing and it totally fell off the rails. And that's on me. So I want to encourage you if you're like, but I don't want to be, pushy and all this stuff. Like let your contractor agreement do the pushing and just state like, we agreed on this and this is what it is. And it's really for your benefit. And what's funny is, some pre-work takes 4 to 5 hours for a client to do. Like a lot of the website pre-work, it's like, I have to write all the copy. So that's hours and hours. Like I had to go take, photos for this. I had to, all the things. Right. And so don't be afraid to ask a lot of questions up front. Don't ask unnecessary questions. I'm really big on that because every question needs to have a purpose or a task or an action attached to it. Otherwise, it doesn't need to be in the questionnaire. So having that upfront agreement where if I don't get this in time, then this isn't happening, or it's an automatic reschedule, then that really does light a fire under your client's butt. And my clients are always like, do you need anything more? Like, are you sure this is all you need? And it's like, I've never gotten that when I was doing monthly retainers. Like they were just like, fend for yourselves. And so, it's really interesting how the tables kind of turn, because you're also projecting yourself as an expert, right? Like experts can do things faster, more streamlined, etc. And so you saying, I can do this in a day says I'm an expert. So I need you to bring your A game too, right?
And I mean, you mentioned like with the 72 hours thing, it's for us, but it's also for them in a sense. Like if you can't do it as well because you don't have all the information and they're still paying the same price as if they did give it all to you, it's like, it almost feels like a disservice to be like, I'll do it anyway. Like with what you got, it's fine. And with that 72 hours, are you looking over the stuff when they send it? Or like, I'm guessing you're looking over it all before the call with them initially.
Yeah, usually. For me, it's like literally the morning, because my process is so dialed in. I really only have to look at something for about an hour or two. So my VIP days are like 11 to 6 or 6 hours now. And about 9 to 11, I'm looking at their pre-work. Because again, if they've done it and it's all there, right, then I can do it in 1 to 2 hours. That's the goal.
Okay. And then one question I had for you too, and this might be like, it might vary like type of VIP day to VIP day, but with retainer clients or even with like a more standard service project, we might be like, we're going to make this in 4 payments, or one at the beginning, one at the end. What do you recommend for VIP days? Like, is it all up front or one at the beginning, one at the end? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So I really encourage people to do 1 or 2 payments. I think that if you're having to delay any more payments, it may not be the best VIP day client for you. And really that has to do with a little bit of like availability. So if somebody has to pay across 2 payments, then they are going to delay their ability to get on my calendar until that second payment is fulfilled. But if you pay in full, you may be able to get on my calendar within the month. Okay. So it allows a little bit of an incentive for people who are paying in full to get on my calendar quicker. And so I definitely encourage everybody to have payments up front and whatnot. It just makes your life a whole ton easier. Again, I used to do it where I was okay with the second payment happening afterwards. And thankfully I've never, ever had a payment not happen. But I want to be able to come and like fully serve and like not be thinking, what if I don't get paid for this? Cause that'll mess with my psyche on the day of. So let's just like keep it clean, keep it simple, all the payment up front, then I'm going to show up in my full source.
Yes, I agree. I like that advice. So so maybe it could even be like, I guess, 1 payment as a deposit and then 1 like right before the date's happening. That makes a lot of sense to me. Okay. Last VIP day question. And then I want to ask you some other questions that are also really interesting, even though they're not about VIP days. But for people who are like, oh my gosh, this sounds awesome. It sounds like I need this. Like, what would you say their first step should be besides like learning and being coached by you, but their first step towards turning the monthly retainer or a more like service-based project into a VIP day?
Totally. I think the first part of it is really understanding the transformation in both like a tangible and intangible result. I think both are super important in selling it because, the tangibles let them know that you like are an expert and you know what you're doing, and the intangibles help them to understand how they're going to feel when this transformation takes place, right? So there really are only 4 tangible results that you can have with a VIP day, and they are a service, which means I'm providing a service. Like I'm going to build it, I'm going to create it, I'm going to set it up, and then you're good. There's strategy, which is where you are kind of at the beginning stages of, whether that's launch strategy, Instagram strategy, I've seen all the different strategies, SEO strategy, and you are just helping them with the planning, the mapping, that sort of stuff. And then you have the suggestions VIP day, which has to do with more of an audit, honestly, is what it is. And that's where you are finding the gaps, the inefficiencies, and creating different suggestions for each of those for them to go and implement themselves. And then the last tangible result is a solution. And that's for your coaching ones where, again, you're kind of combing through what is going on in their life, their marriage, their health, their fitness, and you are building a solution for this prescribed solution for this particular person to then go and be great with, right? And so with that, you really have to be clear which one of those 4 it is so that your client understands. Because if you say VIP day, it's getting more and more traction now, right? But it's still a semi-mystery in a lot of areas. So it's really important to be as clear as possible with your clients of which of these tangible results, you're offering. And then, intangibly, what are the benefits of this tangible result happening for you, right? And knowing like they're going to feel better, they're going to have more clarity, they're going to, look stronger, like whatever those intangibles are about feelings, like peace of mind, clarity, confidence. You really want to think about those things too, because those, I think both equally sell, but I almost would even say, oddly enough, that intangibles do sell more because my clients want peace of mind more than anything else. Like, yes, they want a nice CRM system. Cool.
Yeah.
But really what they want is peace of mind to know that their tasks are being captured somewhere, that their team members for the heavy season know what they're doing. And all of that is really just peace of mind. And to be quite honest, that's what majority of our clients are wanting with our services and coaching. So that's really the first step is what tangible result am I giving them and what are the intangibles from that result?
Yes, I love that first step. And can you repeat what those were again, those 4, just so people can like hear them again and think about which one they are?
Totally. So the first one is service. And that is, again, I'm going to be taking, your website, instead of doing it in 6 weeks, I'm going to do it in a day, or systems builds. So again, the building, the setting up, the creating. Then you have the strategy, which is the planning, the mapping, and that is usually launch strategy, Instagram strategy, SEO strategy, sort of stuff. Then you have suggestions, which is what typically is an audit. So someone can audit your funnel and tell you where you're lacking your conversions and how to fix them. Somebody can audit, your website where you're not doing your SEO tagging correctly, et cetera. So it's really kind of going in the back end and finding those areas for suggestions. And then the last one is solution. And that is your coaching. That is, really advising, prescribing, counseling, that sort of VIP day. And that could be really like, website designers that are, counseling other website designers, or, it could be, you're a health coach and you're going through, postpartum plans, right? So it really, a lot of them are flexible. I've seen people kind of do 2 in 1. So if you want to do strategy and service like I do, you can totally do that. But those are the 4.
Yeah. And what you said too about coaches, like as someone who's worked with a lot of coaches, business and life coaches as a designer, I've seen VIP days as an offering in the coaching industry for a while, but then also for all these other industries, I feel like it is like a newer thing. But yeah, works great for all of them. So that's awesome. Okay. And then a few more like a little rapid fire questions to close out. And I want you to tell everyone where they can find you. But one question for you, I mean, so I've been on your podcast, I've emailed with your team because of that. And I always love hearing about people's teams. So you seem to have a really great team. Like they're super great at emailing, very efficient. I've appreciated when I've emailed with them. And so I'm curious, like with the team aspect, and I could do a whole interview with you about this, but like the quick question version is like, who are the main people who help you day in and day out in your business? Like what roles do you have working with you?
Yeah. So it's ever evolving and changing. This time last year, I had 3 people on my team, and now we are at 8. Awesome. So we are expanding. Every time I say it, I'm like, oh my gosh, there are 8 of you. So we have Alice, who's my content manager, and she's been on the team for almost 2 years. And she manages our Instagram. So she's the one posting, coming up with the ideas for our Instagram, really the content direction. So she also makes sure that our graphic designer, our video editor, and our podcast editor have what they need to do all of their juice. And she makes sure that it all comes together really well. And then we have Trina, who you talk to, any of you in the inbox. Trina is a lovely human being. And she's so like literally whenever she crafts like a difficult like communication email, I'm always like, you said that way better than I would have. Like you sound so lovely and yet like you're telling them no. But so Trina is my ops and relationships coordinator. And so she also does like gifts and stuff when we like have clients that are going through difficult times or things like that. And then we also have Andrea, who is our community manager and coach inside of our program. And so she helps facilitate getting answers, pointing people in the right direction, et cetera, inside of our Done in a Day program. Then we have, like I said, our graphic designer, Taylor, who is amazing, like absolutely love her work. I found her on an Instagram hashtag, fun fact, and she's been with us for almost 2 years as well. Katrina is our video editor, and she's been with us for almost 2 years. So all the video stuff is 100% her. And we have Aminir, who's our podcast editor. Mm-hmm. So he edits the podcast, makes it sound lovely. And then we have Victoria, who helps with our DMs and messages. So if Victoria doesn't say, hey, this is Victoria, then it's me, is essentially the rule there. And Victoria really helps with answering questions about our program. She actually was a former student. And so she helps facilitate a lot of the sales conversations, more or less, about what the program is like, what you can expect, overcoming objections, things like that. And so that's really helpful because we probably have at least 100 DMs every day. And there was a point where I was just like, your girl
I need
can't
to do
handle
that.
it.
Yeah, I feel you.
So I need support. So Victoria is there to help tag team with me. And I think that's it currently. And because we're hiring for a project manager and actually system support and whatnot. So more of like the IT troubleshooter. So that is my team. There's a lot of us. Well, it's like small in comparison, right? But it can
There's
feel
a lot.
big
And
when you're
and are they mostly contractors, or how is that? Or like
it's
contractors?
Split.
Okay.
Gotcha. So everyone is an employee except for Katrina and Aminir at this current moment. Some are part-time employees. Some are full-time, but majority are employees. Oh, and we do have Grace. She just came on like in the past week. So Grace, she does a lot of the like collecting of the metrics so that we can see what we need to see on our dashboards. She schedules social media. So she kind of does a lot of the like admin tedious things that we all don't like to do. So, we're a mainly employee team.
That's cool. I'm going to like ask you to come back on to talk about team, because I feel like we would have so much to talk about. I'm like stopping myself right now because I'm like, I have other things I want to ask you. But that's really cool though. And I love, I mean, from the outside looking in, it's so easy, like for everyone to just think like it's just you because you're the face of your company. And I have that same thing happen, but it's like, no, there's a lot of other people helping. You can't build your business to where you do without other people. So
totally.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. Favorite business book?
Yes. So, I mean, as a systems person, I can't, stop, with this question and not think of E-Myth, which is by Michael E. Gerber. And it's all about just how if you are not putting systems into your business, then really you just created a job for yourself because you're relying solely on your own brain to do the output. And, when I read that line, I was like, and again, as a systems person, I pretty much like have majority of like my brain out somewhere on a document or whatever. However, like it's a constant reminder that, I'm really, if I don't get it out of my head and somewhere or to someone else, then it's a job. So I love that book. And if you haven't read it, then I definitely would recommend.
Yeah, I've wanted to read that. It's the E-Myth Revisited, right? Is that the same thing or is that a different book?
It's the same thing. Okay. Yeah, there's like...
Because they redid it, I guess, at some point.
It, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard great things about that one. Okay, the last question. Oh, you're the systems person, right? Like you were literally just saying. But it's like, I know you focus mostly on business, but I'm curious if you have like a more like life system or productivity like hack that you do that you feel like is really helpful.
Yeah, it's a semi-hack, but I think, people are really big about morning routines, and my morning routine is to not have a routine for my mornings. So, but what that really is like, where do you want to be as far as like, financially, spiritually, emotionally, all the things. And then like picture that person and what is that person doing in their mornings? Like, and for me, like I picture people who are like feeling so spiritually fulfilled. They enjoy their business. They have a team, all of these things. And so what does somebody do when they have a lot of their life and business taken care of? Like, you don't wake up to an alarm. And like, I have the beautiful relationship where my husband does have to wake up early to an alarm. And so he handles our bonus son in the morning. And so I understand that is definitely a privilege for me, but I do not wake up to an alarm. I kind of like stumble out of bed. I make some tea sometimes, and like I kind of mosey around, because I think too that most people are so like go, move, like right at the beginning of the day. And that causes me stress. I'm like, like this is too much. So like the life hack really is like to look at who you want to be and how you want to go about your life and start building that into how you do things now. So again, like if the people that you admired get up at 5 a.m. and like, you know, get to wake up before everybody else and work out and do, you know, prayer or meditation, like great, then do that, right? Like don't make a routine just because your business coach does it or just because you read it in a book. Like do your morning routine based on like who you aspire to be someday and start to implement some of those things today.
Yeah, I love that. Being that person now that you're aiming for. I love that. That's a great like mindset around the morning routine. And I'm with you. I don't love hitting the ground running. I'm very slow morning. Like my husband gets up and he's like, especially in the season of pregnancy, I've been like, I'm going to like sit here for like 2 hours and then work. But yeah, I love that. Okay. This has been awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. Will you tell everyone how they can connect with you?
Yes. So like I said, Instagram is my jam. So at Systems Saved Me, that is plural, Systems Saved Me. And again, podcast is Systems Saved Me. And my website has a lot of fun shenanigans and things, and that is systemsaveme.com. So we are pretty much Systems Saved Me everywhere. But those are like the 3 areas I would point you in if you're interested in learning more about, you know, VIP days or systems as well.
Awesome. Love it. And yeah, and everyone go check out your podcast too. I'll link in the show notes the episode we did together too. Finding that. And you've had like 1 million episodes too. I know it's not really 1 million, but you've had a ton of podcast episodes. So there's a lot to explore there. Yeah, I mean, that's so many. Because you're at 2 a week now, right?
Yeah.
Or you have been for a long time probably.
Yeah, the first season I did 1 a week, and then ever since then it's been 2 a week for a while.
Yeah, so you have a lot of great content there for people to explore. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, thanks so much for having me, Elizabeth.
Thank you for listening to this podcast episode all the way until the end. I appreciate you being here. And if you enjoyed this episode, then I want to invite you to check out my website template shop too. Over on elizabethmccravy.com, you'll find show it website templates that are easy to use, strategically designed, and created to help you book more clients and customers. Maybe your current website is really boring. Maybe it's a challenge to update, and maybe even it's that thing that you really feel like is just completely holding your business back. Your website needs to be strategically and intentionally designed in order for it to convert your viewers into raving customers, and that's exactly what my M-Shop templates do. So these are pre-made show it website templates where you can plug and play your content into it with ease and then get started with a website that's designed to actually help you make more money. These templates are designed to be SEO friendly on the back end, and they're not just pretty, but they are very strategic and with all the strategies I teach on this podcast. And best of all, they're easy for you to set up all by yourself. So shop them at elizabethmccravy.com/shop and come join the M-Shop family of hundreds of happy customers. And as an added perk, you can use the code BBPodcast at checkout to get 10% off any template as a thank you for being a part of the podcast family. So that's BB Podcast for 10% off any template over at elizabethmccravy.com. And if you love this podcast, don't forget that you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts so that you never miss an episode, and leave a rating and review for the show wherever you're listening. Share it with a friend, share it on Instagram or Facebook. That's a great way to support the podcast and get the word out. All right, I'll be back next week with another new episode.